Welcome, fellow confidence crusaders, neuro nerds, and success equalizers. This is your podcast, Real Confidence. I'm your host, Alyssa DeVere, and I'll be sharing a bit of basic brain science, some surprising social secrets, and a touch of tough love. Why? Because I believe confidence is everyone's fundamental right and choice. So let's get to it. My team here at ACI often tells me I should record when things are raw, when they're fresh in my brain. And I thought this was the perfect moment to do that. I had something happen yesterday that really put my confidence, knowledge, and teachings to the test. So by means of giving some context, a particular individual who I had been interacting with for a while, I would say a few months, and I had then met in person last week, who kept throwing off strange vibes, a little bit of aloofness, lack of information, kind of like not being forthcoming with it, and so on. And it invited me to do a workshop for the team that he was managing. And in the prep meeting on Monday, not only asked to move the Tuesday workshop at that point to Thursday, which in and of itself is very, how shall I put it, weird, right? You invite 26 people to a workshop and then say, we're moving it 2 days later. But then went through all kinds of gory detail to describe each of the individuals. Not that I needed to know any of that, but needless to say, I listened and took notes. And show up on Thursday, all prepared, ready to do a workshop I've done before many times. And you probably know that I do workshops for a living, so hundreds of them every year. This is not new territory for me. But this workshop, 4 people showed up at that point. And I always say it doesn't matter how many are in the room, if you can impact and give some gifts emotionally and otherwise to whoever's there, and that's a good day. So I was disappointed that the 26 people weren't there, but again, do your best for the 4. And very soon into the presentation, I was getting thrown barbs, if you will, questions and comments from individuals that were very surprising. Quite honestly, were challenging my knowledge, and in a way that they were stating that they were more expert. And while I clearly said that I respected their perspective, I was coming at things from a different perspective, of course, that, the work that I do, I talk to hundreds of individuals in this particular field every week, study brain science for the last decade. So particular issues around that, I was a little bit maybe more forthright to tell people that their opinions were respected, but not necessarily agreed with. Now, it wasn't particularly a brain science focused session, but again, I look back and I say, boy, they were challenging me on things that I am notoriously an expert in, and they're not. But yet I felt very attacked in many ways. So get through the event, and at the end, my contact wants to do a debrief and basically says to me, that sucked. That was terrible. And the damage you have done, I can't even explain. To which my response was, I am so sorry. And for the next 5 minutes, I continued to apologize for a poor outcome. Though I did say back to this individual, given what your objectives were and what I asked you on Monday, it seems that it would have been impossible to meet those regardless with the way that the audience came into the room. And of course, he got defensive and told me that I had misunderstood everything, that I didn't pick up on the cues while I was presenting online, that I didn't understand or underestimated people. Now, in all fairness, it was not my best performance. I definitely am tired. I wasn't able to pivot and kind of chill in the middle of my presentation, as I often do when people get things off track, and I sit back and try and figure out the best way to get them back on track. And most of the time, actually all the time, except for that time, I'm able to do it. But this one, they kept dragging me off the track. Now, very smart people, absolutely. Very passionate people around things that they're passionate about, clearly. But there was a lack of passion around this topic. They made that very clear. So trying to force feed information into somebody's head that they're really not interested in, yeah, my biggest mistake yesterday. Perhaps my context downfall, his own Achilles heel. What did I do to get back on track, though, myself afterwards? I was feeling horrendous, really sad, angry, frustrated, depressed. I could put 1,000 labels on it, but I was feeling shitty. And my reaction was, who can I call? Not to necessarily tell me that I'm the greatest person on the planet. I didn't need that kind of Pollyanna support. I needed to thought process this through to get myself a confidence coach. And so I called first my colleague, who's not only been trained in this, but who knows the way I think really well. And she was brilliant in her questioning and commenting. I called two other friends of mine who brought very different perspectives, who didn't BS me, didn't say, oh, it's going to be okay, and you did nothing wrong. I didn't need to hear those things. I needed to hear things like, tell me what really happened. What do you see as the truth? Because clearly this other individual has a different set of glasses on. And as I replayed some of the scenarios, it made me realize that I didn't do anything wrong, that I had said and done what I would do again if given the opportunity, that perhaps there was better ways, more elegant, eloquent, more concise ways, maybe less energetic ways, even confrontational ways. But in reality, the whole message that I delivered was still the same that I would do again, given the opportunity. So after talking to three very trusted individuals who know me very well, but also know that I don't like things sugar-coated, I came away with a very good sense that, no, it wasn't my finest moment. I can certainly do things better and learn from the things that I did that I wasn't ideally proud of. But at the same time, I realized that sometimes other people, it's going to sound silly as the confidence queen, really get off taking your confidence. We've done podcasts about the tall poppy syndrome. That's very blatant example of when people want to cut you down. But in the moment, for whatever reason that they're hurting, for whatever reason that they need to feel superior, for whatever reason they think that you're nicer, prettier, smarter than they are, for whatever reason that they may not have been successful in their own effort, in their own career, in their own relationships, and are envious of yours, it is perhaps intentional or not that they want to grab your confidence. So what can we do about it? Well, obviously the answer is not to let them, but that's easier said than done. So I want to tell you the 3 golden nuggets that my confidence coaches gave me that helped me not only get a good night's sleep last night, but wake up with new energy and a new perspective. The first thing they said is, do not email, do not call, do not text this individual yesterday while I was still heated in the moment, emotional. And man, it's the hardest thing when you're an action-oriented person that you want to just get things done and make things right. Do not react, they said. Not only is my brain not at its best, heated, acting in its amygdala zone down into the brainstem, all defensive and survival mode, but so is his. And while he's angry and frustrated and directing that at you, Alyssa, he can't think straight either. He's not thinking rationally, and perhaps, just maybe, he will wake up realizing how wrong he was too. Maybe, maybe not, but needless to say, sending a message at that moment would not have served either of us well. So one, don't react. The second thing that was very clear, actually, across all three of my confidence coaches' messaging to me was that, guess what? Even the confidence queen is human. Yeah, we all get up in the morning, we go to the bathroom, we put our pants, our dresses on, we get to work, we speak and we say things sometimes that maybe aren't the best in hindsight, or maybe there's something we don't say that we should, and we realize that only after it's too late. That's human. Maybe we slip up and say something that's not politically correct, because given that dialogue right now, given all the terms and phrases that are verboten, I can't even keep up with them myself when I'm in the market. That, yeah, we might say something that would offend somebody accidentally. But being human is not a condition. Being human is a blessing, because guess what? Everybody else is too. So while somebody might say to you, you screwed up, you said something that offended somebody, they've done it too. They've done it. They may not even know they've done it, but needless to say, they've done it as a human. And our best human reaction is, I appreciate knowing that, and I will try and do better going forward. Can't guarantee I'll be better, but I will try. In fact, a great human reaction would be, I really appreciate you letting me know that. I did not realize it at the time, and I'll try and be more aware of it in the future for myself and for others. So being human, we can't avoid that, perfectionists or otherwise, we are human. And I think that was very telling to me that not only am I going to make mistakes, of course, but so can everyone else, including this contact of mine. And his mistake perhaps was even having this workshop at all. All right. And number 3, the teller of tells, was the simple question, will you stay with me until I take a sponsor break? And then I'll tell you what the number 3 is. Oh, you're going to hate me. I know. I love you all, though. So stay with me. I'm going to come back with number 3, because it's the real one that changed the whole boat's direction. We'll give some sponsor love and we'll be right back. This podcast is sponsored by the ERG Leadership Alliance. Employee resource groups, ERGs, and all the other names they go by are essentially internal associations that help make workplaces more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. With over 25,000 plus member organizations around the world, the ERG Leadership Alliance provides certification, training, tools, and collaborative events to help leaders quickly build strong, sustainable employee groups. Learn more at www.ergleadershipalliance.com. All right. If you're still on, it means that you forgive me for dropping that tease. I just felt like it. You know, I'm trying to regain my energy after yesterday. It's a Friday. It's raining and dreary here in Boston. So needless to say, sorry for the tease. But number 3, the golden nugget that I got from my confidence coaches yesterday. Number 1 was don't react. 2 was just remember you're human. But number 3, what's the next plan? What's the worst case that can happen? And let's plan going forward. Dust yourself up, pick yourself up, girl. Let's go. But it wasn't wrapped in a message of ignore what was going on. It wasn't wrapped in a message of don't mire and linger in the pain. The message was, let's figure out what is the possibly worst case that can happen so you're prepared to deal with it going forward. Now, this guy is the contact, not just for the workshop and some other things that we're doing through the organization, but actually one of the biggest events that we're running all year. And that was why I had met him last week down in New York. And unfortunately, with that big event, it's a very, very huge part of our overall revenue, part of our marketing and sales strategy. So I think when the workshop went off the rails, as much as I was upset about potentially offending the 4 people that were there, I was much more concerned about the impact on the business overall. And of course, the revenue as it would trickle down into how I would support the team, my team here in my businesses. So the wise coach that brought this to my attention said, what's the worst case? That you can't have that event there? There's plenty of other places you can have it. Yeah, but they're not as good, I said. Hey, they may be better. Maybe there's better spaces, better partnership. Yeah, but they're not going to be as sexy. And the comment came back saying, well, we'll make it sexy because the venue isn't the reason people are coming. They're going to come because they want the content, because they want to meet great people. They can go to the venue anytime they want, but they can't meet great people and get great content unless they come to your thing, no matter where it is. So it was that moment of reckoning to realize that the worst case wasn't so terrible. And the second question that person and that conference coach asked me then was, all right, if you have to plan somewhere else, how are you going to do it? And I said, well, I can go down our customer list. I can find some organizations that I know that are in particular areas that we want to hold this, yada, yada. I started putting together a plan and immediately was on a brain path that said, I'm in control. I get to make choices of how I want to answer and deal with this. And not only am I not going to let somebody else take my confidence, but damn it, I'm not going to let somebody else hold me hostage in doing the things that I know serve the world, that bring joy and energy, whether it's to my friends, my family, my customers, my team. I owe it to them. I owe it to myself not to let one individual or one situation, even if I really did screw up, dictate what we're going to do going forward in the future. So in reality, making the choice not to be angry, frustrated, sad, depressed, but to make the choice that it sucked, don't want to do that again. There's a couple of things that I definitely would do differently next time. I'm going to be more careful of some of the things that came out of my mouth. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to fix it 100% every time, but I'm certainly going to try. More importantly, I'm not going to let it stop me from doing other amazing things in the world. Now, I'll admit to you, being a confidence crusader is exhausting. It's tiring. Some days I get up and I really don't want to. But then I remind myself that if I can help one person in that room, one person on that podcast feel better about the great things that they can do to unleash their potential, that's all I need as a reason. So thank you for listening to my rant. Raw, fresh, but also recovered. Before we totally wrap up, I want to let you know that full transcripts and show notes for this and other Real Confidence episodes can be found on www.americanconfidenceinstitute.com/podcast. I also want to remind you once again that the best way to get confidence is to give it to others. And you can do it just by liking and sharing this episode on your preferred podcast and social media channels. You can even give me some confidence by noting topics you'd like me to consider for the future. So for now, this is Alyssa DeVere. Thank you for helping to bring more confidence to the world. Master editing done by Ben Weinstein with original music performed and composed by Jeff Mitchell. Real Confidence is a production of American Confidence Institute. All rights reserved.